So we're looking at part 10 of the essentials, looking at essential oils, their history, and their use. So first of all, just a reminder that things that we talk about here are educational in nature, and that there's just more tools that you can put into your quiver of tools that you can use to help maintain health and or get it back, potentially, if you need to do that. It's not medical advice. It shouldn't be construed that way. Just some things that have worked for others and may work for you. But always, whenever is brought to your attention, do your own due diligence and make sure it's going to be a fit for whatever situation you personally have. And that while every attempt is made to be as complete as possible, it's not exhaustively comprehensive, the information that's provided, and just keep that as a point of reference. So tonight we're going to be looking at the geranium. So the geranium genus and species is Pelargonium graveolens, and it has a long history of use. It was used in Egypt to help as a skin enhancer. The Native Americans used the powdered root as a tea. In Victorian times, the leaves were actually used on the tables as an edible decoration. So it would be scattered around as a living decoration on their tabletops. It was also made into desserts, cakes, jellies, and teas, a variety of different ways. In modern times, the geranium has been used for a number of different things in the mental, physical, and emotional realm. It's antidepressant in nature, very beneficial for wound healing. We'll talk more about those things as we continue. But it's been used as a treatment for acne, eczema, psoriasis, anxiety, and helping to maintain and return to balance various hormones in the body, particularly women. So it has a wide range of uses and benefits. So the number of different types of geranium species, but the one that's used for the essential oil is the graveolens. So the part that is used are the leaves, and you can see the foliage and the leaves that are present there. Beautiful little flower. The wild geranium is edible and useful in that way, but this is a cultivated variety of geranium. The leaves are utilized through a steam distillation process to extract the oils, and the key molecules that are used are citronello, which sounds very much like citronella. In fact, there are some insecticidal or insect repellent qualities that the geranium essential oil has. So that's not a surprise there. And there's also geranol, which is named after geranium, or geranium is named after it. One of those different, either one way or the other. Oftentimes the chemicals and the names go hand in hand. But notice how the two molecules here, biochemically, if you were to look at their chemical formula, they'd be identical. But you can look at their mirror image status here. That's a very interesting component that we find in life, that when you find a molecule that's used in a living system, like a plant or an animal, it will be in the L form. The L form is typically the life or the bioactive form. The D form has neutral or negative or other effects. And when they attempt to create these molecules synthetically, they have no way of controlling the ratios that are produced. And so when you get a synthetically derived molecule, it could be L form or D form. So it could, in an uncontrolled ratio. So you don't have, from batch to batch, you're not going to have consistency. It's very difficult to purify it and synthesize it. The beautiful thing is that God created plants and animals that in our physiologies, we use the form that's made by plants. We make the forms of those molecules. Dopamine is a classic example of that. They were supplementing dopamine for individuals who had some neurological issues, and they found that the D-dopa form had negative effects, the L-dopa form had beneficial effects, and that's kind of when they first discovered this chimeric quality of many biological molecules, a left-handed and a right-handed form. And it's just an amazing phenomena of creation that our bodies produce the proper one without having to purify it. It's always the right way when our bodies make it themselves. But that being said, we can distill it. So you can see this distiller here. This is a home distiller unit. You put the plant material in the upper chamber. The bottom chamber has where the heat applied and water, and it would send that steam up through the distilling chamber, and then it condenses and goes across into the collection area. This is a basic home distiller unit, lots of different types of them around. So you could make your own essential oils. So some key properties of geranium. It's hemostatic, which is another way of saying that it helps to stop bleeding. There are other things that function that way too. And this is just the essential oil. But for example, cayenne pepper is a great hemostatic as well. It's a detoxifier, so it helps the body to rid itself of toxins. It's a regenerative, so it's beneficial in things like skin, helping the skin to regenerate appropriately. It's anti-allergenic, anti-hemorrhagic, and they actually have done some research in this area, so it helps to keep blood vessels from bursting and hemorrhaging. And even some of those times that are genetically derived. So some hemorrhaging conditions come from genetics, others are just due to poor nutrition or lack of nutrition in a particular way that strengthens blood vessels. So it's antitoxic, anti-yeast, anti-inflammatory, and it blends well with lavender, sandalwood, and patchouli. So patchouli is the lower right picture there. Sandalwood is derived from wood and is an oil that can be derived. So lavender essential oil, sandalwood essential oil, and patchouli. So you want to make sure that you dilute it with a carrier oil because it does have some potential skin irritant qualities if you use it neat. So don't use this neat. You want to use it in conjunction with a carrier oil. So some key uses for geranium essential oil. It supports kidney, gallbladder, pancreatic, and liver function. So topically, if you have like a kidney stone or gallbladder pain, pancreatic issues like diabetes, you could apply it over the area that you have concern for. Just topically massage into the area. Internally, you can use it in a capsule. So again, you're going to use a gel capsule. They come in the capsule form on the right. They're empty, but then you just take them apart and you put several drops into the capsule and close it and then swallow it. That way it is dissolved in the stomach and the GI, as opposed to potentially, depending on the oil, burning in the GI, in the esophagus as it's going down. So this is a potentially hot oil, which may not be particularly friendly on mucous membranes. So it helps cuts and wounds. So you can topically use it, apply it to the area that's been wounded, helps keep it clean, and promotes healing and tissue regeneration. It actually has an astringent quality to it that helps to draw tissues together, and that makes sense with this wound healing and cut healing capacity. So it helps in hormone balance, especially in connection with PMS. For people suffering from PMS, just a topical massage to the abdominal area can be beneficial. You could also use it internally by putting a drop just beneath the tongue, sublingually. That's just sublingual, means below the tongue. And that can help mitigate the hormone surges and fluctuations that can lead to premenstrual syndrome. It also can increase libido. So topical massage over the abdominal area can help with that, along with a carrier oil. Internally, again, one drop sublingually can aid in libido increases. People suffering from dry, oily hair and skin. So it can be dry or oily. So either extreme, it can help balance that out. So when we call that a tonic or an equalizer, essentially, so that if something is an extreme, can bring it back into parity on either side of the extreme. So you can topically apply it to the irritated areas, and it aids in the balance of oil production. So it brings it up if it's dry, brings it down if the skin's oily or hair is oily. It's a great moisturizer, adding it to a moisturizer. Topically, you want to dilute it with fractionated coconut oil. So coconut oil is excellent for using it as a moisturizer because it is solid at room temperature, and you can blend it with other things like jojoba or aloes. But use it topically to hydrate and balance the moisture in the skin. So coconut oil, again, is a solid at room temperature, and so it's easy to keep, easy to apply. You can also apply free oils or liquid oils to the skin, but it just makes them appear more oily. The coconut oil does absorb into the skin really well and then leaves a non-oily surface feel after a fairly short period of time. So it can actually help mitigate body odor, which is helpful. Topically applying it under the arms to reduce odors. It's helpful for skin. So again, it has that astringent quality, helps to draw tissue together, which is very important for wounds or cuts, because that's what it needs to do, is regenerate and move across a matrix to have those cells regenerate and granulate into the tissue that has been damaged. It helps to improve skin tone, makes it tighter as opposed to saggy, minimizing wrinkles. So you can make a facial lotion with 2 drops of geranium in a 1-to-1 geranium and coconut oil ratio, and use that 2 times a day. Hormone balancing, it's good for helping relieve the pain some people suffer with menstruation or prior to menstruation. 1 to 2 drops blended with clary sage and orange essential oils, and a carrier oil just prior to the period onset can be beneficial. So there are other things that can disrupt hormonal balance too. Some people find that they have a craving for things like chocolate, but chocolate actually can have a negative effect on the severity of a person's menstrual period, because it has some disruptive qualities potentially with the hormones. And there are other dietary things that can also have impacts on the severity of premenstrual syndrome. So just the upshot of it is to pay attention to your body and make connections between things you've done. And the thing is about like chocolate and things like that, it doesn't have to be, it's harder to connect things like diet, because sometimes those influences can be weeks prior to when the symptoms are onset. And that makes it difficult to ferret out sometimes. And that's typically how it is with influences of things like chocolate on menstruation. So it functions as a kidney cleanser, the essential oil of geranium. It functions as a natural diuretic. So a diuretic, you can see a picture here of individual's kidneys with the adrenal glands on top there. And it's going to be filtering the blood. But a diuretic produces urine and helps in detoxifying the body by washing it out. So it's micturated or produced in the kidney, goes down the ureters. You can see the ureters in the diagram on the right, into the urinary bladder, and then is held there until signals to release it are given. So it helps eliminate toxins, and you can take it internally in a capsule, just a few drops in a capsule, and just swallow it with water, or again, a topical massage over the abdominal area. And actually the back might even be better, just because it's closer to the kidney area, because the kidneys are embedded in the back wall of the peritoneal cavity, which is the main thoracic cavity where most of your body organs are located. Also for healthy muscle toning, again, because of its astringent qualities, it draws them together, tissues together, keeps muscle and skin from sagging, and helps to tighten it. You can make a massage oil out of 5 drops of geranium essential oil to 1 tablespoon of jojoba oil, and use that as a muscle massage. It can also be helpful for staving off Alzheimer's and dementia. It can help be a preventative in that regard. So topically, you can apply it with a carrier oil to the temples, the wrists, back of the neck, and it has a positive influence on brain chemistry. One thing you do want to be sure is that if you're pregnant, you want to avoid it during the first trimester of pregnancy because of the hormonal influences it can have. Hormones are very active and important in directing the early development during pregnancy, and use it only topically after that during the pregnancy if you decide to continue using it after that first trimester. Some additional benefits of geranium: it has antifungal qualities. So things like candida and other types of yeast infections and fungal infections can respond positively to the use of geranium essential oil. It can help support the adrenal glands. Many people leading a stressful life have adrenal stress. Decreases blood sugar issues. So again, it helps support a healthy pancreas. You can apply that topically, just through a topical massage on the abdominal area where the pancreas lies, and it can enter through the skin and help to level off blood sugar issues. Again, it helps to improve cognitive function and concentration. So that can be helpful if you need to have better concentration. It actually has some cancer-killing effects that have been noted as well. And cold sores, herpes simplex, can help to treat herpes simplex. You can see that over to the right. Kind of a very interesting appearance. It looks a lot like something that we've recently encountered. A lot of different viruses are said to have this shape. This is an electron micrograph of the cellular structures, and it looks a lot like an exosome, which is a cellular packet that removes toxins from the body and dumps them outside the cells for transport away. We mentioned earlier how it can function as an insect repellent. The citronello compound in it can aid that effect of it. Hemorrhoidal pain relief, so it has some astringent as well as pain-killing qualities, and can also be helpful in mitigating the pain derived from shingles. So shingles is a nerve tract following of the chickenpox virus, varicella, that adults suffer. Adults typically don't get chickenpox like children do. They have that pathogen follow a nerve tract as opposed to having little pustules and little boil-like structures that happen all over the body. UTIs can be help provide relief from UTIs, and it has antimicrobial activity that has been shown to be effective against Staph aureus. So here's a picture of Staphylococcus aureus. Some research around geranium essential oil. So Khosravi et al. In the Biological Pharmacological Bulletin in 2008, an article entitled Protective Activity of Geranium Oil and its Component, Geranol, so specifically Geranol, in combination with vaginal washing against vaginal candidiasis in mice. So this was using a mouse model, but they found positive effects to using it for yeast infections. And that's a very common location for yeast infections to get established and arise. So this could be a way to mitigate that. Mariuma et al. In Laryngoscope, April 2013, they looked at the efficacy of a topical sesame rose geranium oil compound in patients with hereditary hemorrhagic telangiectasia-associated epistaxis. Essentially, that is a blood vessel disorder. The CDC definition of HHT is a disorder in which some blood vessels do not develop properly, and they may form blood vessels without the capillaries. Those are the tiniest blood vessels that the blood cells move down individually, and blood cells can actually fold over and go down in like a straw form down the smallest capillaries. So capillaries are very, very tiny, one blood vessel at a time, even smaller than the disc-shaped form. They're a biconcave disc, the shape of a blood vessel, of a blood cell, red blood cell. But they can fold up and move down even the tiniest capillaries. So clotting in a capillary is not a good idea. So anything that tends towards clots or thickening of the blood is going to decrease circulation through the tiniest capillaries. So the hemorrhagic HHT is it's a genetic genetically disposed condition that some people suffer, but it can be beneficial. The geranium essential oil can help to mitigate those effects. So no adverse side effects were noticed, and it helps to reduce the hemorrhagic events. Essentially, the capillaries are not as present between the arteries and veins. The capillary networks are the blood vessel networks that service the tissues directly that are between the arteries, which are the blood vessels bringing the blood from the heart. It's highly oxygenated and serves the cells, picks up waste and CO2, and takes it back through the veins. So that's the bridge between them are the capillary networks. And those are fragile and not completely developed in HHT. Another one, Tabanka et al. In the Journal of Agricultural Food Chemistry in 2013. They looked at bioactively guided investigation of geranium essential oils as natural tick repellents. So that's actually a very good thing to know, that geranium essential oil can help be a tick repellent, because ticks do carry tick-borne diseases. One of note is Lyme disease. There's also Rocky Mountain spotted fever. But keeping the ticks from attaching to the body is the first step. They may land on you and crawl around a bit, but you want to encourage them to drop off and not make it home, so they don't deliver their toxins, those pathogens, to Bergdorfia, or is one of the species of Lyme disease. So interesting things. It is a parasite that is transferred. The vector is the tick, and there's a couple different things can help with Lyme disease. They found that ivermectin actually works very well for mitigating Lyme disease, and a tincture of teasel, which is a tall thistle. The Lyme disease pathogen creates a biofilm that teasel extract is actually able to penetrate. But there's something called the Herx reaction that can occur, so need to be very careful with that. The Herx is basically just a very rapid toxic offload that can make a person feel very, very sick. So using a little bit at a time. Any medication can do that, even being violently ill. That's your body throwing off toxins at a high rate, and that's what gives that illness, the flu-like symptoms. It's referred to often as a Herx reaction. Burns, the Burns Journal had an article in 2014 by Sinkowitz et al. And they were looking at the antibacterial activity of geranium oil against gram-negative bacteria isolated from difficult to heal wounds. And the gram-negative bacteria are those bacteria that respond to different medications than gram-positive, and they're actually very difficult to eradicate. And would be found in a hard to heal wound. Just something is there continuing to fester, and the geranium essential oil is helpful against that. So we talked about its astringent qualities, drawing tissue together, as well as its antimicrobial activities. Maruyama et al. In the Journal of Inflammation in 2005 noted the suppression of neutrophil accumulation in mice by cutaneous application of geranium essential oil. So neutrophils are one of the different types of white blood cells that if a bruise happens or some kind of inflammation, it's going to be one of the white blood cells that's going to come to the area and increase pressure and swelling. So they found in mice that by just putting it on the skin, cutaneous is the surface of the skin, applying the essential oil of geranium to the skin, it reduced the buildup of pressure, fluid, pus, essentially coming from normally occurring neutrophil arrival, and just helped to accelerate the healing. Fayed et al. In the Research Journal of Agriculture and Biological Sciences in 2009 noted the antioxidant and anti-cancer activities of Citrus reticulate, which is the mandarin, and Pelargonium graveolens, which is geranium essential oils. So they were looking at two essential oils, the geranium and mandarin. So the mandarin is the small little oranges that people often get that are tasty. So common everyday things that can have some powerful effects for good on our physiology.
To be aware of new videos like this one, be sure to subscribe to the Preparing for the Time of Trouble channel. For more free videos and downloadable audio podcasts, as well as handouts, go to www.preparingforthetimeoftrouble.com. Topic categories include recordings of live seminar presentations, country living, sustainable gardening, homestead remedies, how to be self-sufficient when the grid goes down, wild edible and medicinal plants, hydrotherapy, and end-time Bible prophecies. To take advantage of these free resources, go to preparingforthetimeoftrouble.com.